Well, it's 4 p.m. and it looks like we are live on Facebook. So, welcome everybody, and are really looking forward to today's Economic Response Task Force Town Hall. Thank you so much to everyone who's joining us for this Zoom meeting. Thank you to everyone who is joining us via Facebook. My name is Teresa Foxley. I'm the president and CEO of EDC Utah, and I've been serving on Utah's Economic Response Task Force. I'm filling in today for Derek Miller, and I'm so excited to be joined by a great group of business leaders and economic first responders today. First up on the program, we'll have Jeremy Andrus, who is the CEO of Traeger Grills. We'll have John Pierpont, the Executive Director of the Department of Workforce Services. Kevin Burt, the Director of Unemployment Insurance at the Department of Workforce Services. Greg Summerhays, President and CEO of the South Valley Chamber, and Ken Copeland, the owner of Catering. Welcome again to everyone. And Jeremy, it's great to have you on. Jeremy, you're an investor, you're an entrepreneur, you're an engaged community member, and we're really looking forward to learning about what you're thinking about and how you are adapting your business in this moment. But if there's one thing I know, it's that a universal thing that comforts all of us is enjoying a well-made meal. So talk to us about what you're working on for Traeger Nation and our home grillers right now.
Boy, you had to cut right to the chase. Traeger Grills, I like it. It's nice to be here. I'm happy to take a few minutes. I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay. You know what? Are you able to allow me to share my screen? If not, I will make do without.
I am going to try. I don't think I'm the host, but let me see if I can pop this over to you here. Yes. Let's see.
There we go. I think I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Share. Can you see that? Awesome. Good. Like I said, happy to be here. One of the things that I have appreciated seeing the most over the last 6 weeks is something that I've always valued about Utah, which is like this great public-private collaboration. We've got a community full of people who care. And as I've talked to CEOs in other states, there's no question that there's been just people have rallied to help and, to lend a hand, to give their expertise where they can. I saw it from the very first day. And, I've appreciated the leadership of the governor, and sort of how private and state and local have really rallied together, and that's been fun to watch. I am obviously I'm an entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father's a hotel developer and owner. My brother owns a couple of restaurants, Cheddar restaurants here in Utah, and I've really not only sort of come up through that upbringing, but I've developed a real sort of passionate belief that now's a time where we need to help small business. And it's a difficult moment. And I've learned this as I've been very involved in the Silicon Slopes effort in not only surveying entrepreneurs, small business owners, but talking to them and hearing firsthand the challenges that they're going through. So when I was asked to speak a little about Traeger and sort of how we're positioning and managing through this moment, I guess I would say, first of all, we all have a story. We all have some level of uncertainty that we're dealing with. We all have our own experience, and hopefully some of what I share this afternoon can be an analog or be helpful in some way. We've sort of watched this thing develop for a few months. We have an office in Shanghai, and I would say from sort of late December, for the few months beyond from when it was China's problem to when it became our problem, I've had daily conversation with the GM of our Asia operation, and it felt like a distant issue. We know that these things are connected, but the moment that, the Rudy Gobert tested positive, flights inbound from Europe were canceled, I think we all sort of step back and ask the question from a business perspective, what do we know? What do we don't know? How do we plan around this thing? And I don't think any of us understood exactly how serious it was, other than there was going to be a moment of economic pain and uncertainty. We built a plan quickly, as many small businesses did, and I would say that there were sort of three things that we thought about in terms of the evolution of what we would be going through. One is just understanding, what are we dealing with? How does this impact our business? How do we stabilize our business? And then how do we return to really growth and going on the offensive and doing what I've always believed we do best, and that's innovate. And so I'll just show you. I'm just going to show a couple of quick slides. Uh, have to show this one first. It turns out that it is a great time when you are spending time at home to cook on your back deck. So here's the framework of the plan that we pulled together. There are four components to it. First and foremost, health and safety of our people, and that was it was really apparent that as a business, if we didn't focus first on our people, that nothing else that we did would be helpful or would be effective. We very quickly, very early on, went to a work from home, I would say early mid-March, and we suspended all travel. We have a network of 200 salespeople around the country, and they're on an airplane, and they go out and they spend 10 days in some market. They sell through Costco, and we decided very early on that we didn't want them in the field anymore. We brought them home. We said, we will pay you to stay home until we figure out what's going on. And then we said we need to double down on culture and communication. Culture for Traeger is everything. If you spent time in our offices, you know how much we value the energy and the vibe and sort of the raw sort of culture that drives inspiration from a creative perspective. We produce a Monday morning. We have a Monday morning all hands on company meeting every week that went remote. My office turned into a production studio, and three of us go in. My assistant Paulina, who's a company DJ, she goes in and she gets the music going. Someone to broadcast it, and me to deliver the message. And then we get other people from around the country, even around the world, to participate. And we broadcast that out to about 400 people every week. We celebrate birthdays by sending steaks to their doorstep. It's the best that we can do. We really focus on any way that we can drive communication and energy in a time where people are apart. And lack of communication drives distrust more than anything, and we've really focused on that. The last thing that we focus on with our people is mental health. We're really starting to understand some of the challenges that our people and their families are going through, and trying to provide resources that help them develop patterns where they can cope better with some of the uncertainty and just general level of stress out there. Second piece was business liquidity. We had to make sure that we had enough cash to make it through whatever it is that we were going through. We suspended all non-essential spend. We pushed our CapEx out. We basically said, until we know what is going on, we just need to preserve optionality by hunkering down and having cash. Next, we focused on business continuity. We knew that we needed to be nimble. As much as we love thinking long term, we needed to think about the next 30, 60, and 90 days. And so it really changed how we thought about business continuity. Every day we were on the phone with Asia. How's the supply chain? Where are components short? How do we pre-purchase components so that we make sure that we don't have a single component that we can't build a grill because we're lacking? We were very focused on just daily conversation. We have a meeting that we call WAR, which is the executive team. And we went from doing that once a week to doing it every day. Every single day, we talked about what are the issues that are bubbling up in the business? How do we make sure that the feedback loop is very fast so that we can react? The COVID years, COVID time happens fast, and we knew that we needed information quickly. And lastly, we focused on strategic pivots. I'll talk about what some of those are, but I think suffice it to say that it became very clear to us early on that the consumer environment had changed dramatically. And some of those things were positive in our business. People are staying home, they have time, they're cooking, social media engagement just went through the roof. And so it informed to us the things that we could play into. And then there were some difficult trends for our business around how people shop. Whereas before people would go into retail, talk to sales associates, they would make these very considered purchases as they browsed in retail. We knew that that was changing. And so we have built a business plan that allows for us to sort of tastefully be part of a changing consumer environment, but also make sure that we're repositioning our business not only for the short term, but for the long term. Marketing model evolution. We went from saying deep investment in sort of top of funnel, build brand, to very targeted customer acquisition. We didn't feel like a consumer wanted to step back and enjoy seeing a brand being built, but they were willing to make decisions around purchases. Our social, we started producing a lot more social media content. We got our influencers in, and we do 3 times a week takeovers where a celebrity influencer effectively owns our Instagram for a day and produces really great, heartfelt, warm content that people want to engage with. Important part of our business is shop class. We go around the country and we teach people to cook. That was no longer going to happen. So we went to celebrity cooking classes, which we launched a week ago. Today, one of the foremost experts in barbecue, Matt Pittman, 5 o'clock Utah time, is going to teach a free barbecue class, hopefully to the world. We've had tremendous engagement there. Digital experience. We wanted to connect people. We want people to use their grills and connect with others. So we focus there. Channels changed. People want to buy online. So we started really bringing them to Traeger, HomeDepot.com, Ace.com. And where they shop at retail, we've been working with our specialty accounts to really ensure that they have programs that make their customers feel comfortable. Curbside delivery, assembly that goes right into your car, bundles that don't make them have to do a lot of in-store thinking. They want to get in and they want to get out. Supply chains changed. First of all, there's some really positive components of, lower demand in Asia creates opportunity to optimize. Pellets are just through the roof. We look at, we have hundreds of thousands of Wi-Fi enabled grills that are connected to the cloud. We're watching cooking patterns, and that's allowed us to configure our supply chain from a fuel or a pellet perspective to ensure that we can continue to supply what customers need. That's a positive tailwind in our business. We want to make sure that we can keep that. And then I would say lastly, product innovation. We are built on innovation. Everything that we hear in what is common during recessions is that brands, they sort of retract, they pull back their investment in innovation. And then when you come out of it, there is very little innovation. And we've decided that if there's one thing that we're going to invest in that has a long-term focus, it's R&D in the product. We have the opportunity, we believe, to invest deeply in innovation in this moment. And hopefully 12 months from now, as the next grilling season is approaching, we will be able to capture more shares simply by having a better product experience. There's some things that we're doing that are defensive. We've got to weather this storm. There's some things that we're doing where we're going on the offensive, and we think that's important in down markets. And I think it's fair to say that, we're 5 weeks into this, 5 or 6 weeks into this. We still don't know what it looks like 30 days from now or 6 months from now. And so our need to gather information daily and weekly, be nimble, be prepared to pivot so that we can capture any opportunity that exists for our business is critical.
Jeremy, that's an awesome overview. Thank you so much. And I think you're right. There could be some great analogs between what you're doing as a business to really any other business, with a lot of applicability around focusing on your people, increasing communication, and staying nimble. So thank you so much. I'm going to switch over to the Q&A feature here to see if there's any questions that would be relevant to the group. And it looks like you were so thorough that there are no direct questions for you, Jeremy. So thank you again so much. This was terrific. I really enjoyed learning more about it, and we'll make sure to adopt some of these practices in our own organizations as
Thanks,
well.
Teresa.
So,
nice to be here.
thank you so much. John and Kevin, you guys are up. We are really looking forward to hearing from you guys. I know yesterday you unveiled 2 really terrific programs. The first being one to help some of our gig economy workers, and the second being one to help our critical infrastructure daycare providers and those who help care for and nourish our children. So John and Kevin, it's over to you guys.
Thank you, Teresa. Happy to be a part of today's conversation. We've clearly been super busy with the number of unemployment applications since COVID-19 began. You've seen it in the news. We released new numbers today, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about the unemployment insurance program. It's one of many programs that we run at Workforce Services, but it is the program that is in highest demand at the moment. And so it's all hands on deck for Workforce Services and our unemployment insurance division. So the basic design of the program is to provide economic stability to the Utah's workforce and families and communities in times like this. So oftentimes people aren't in need of this, but with the number of layoffs that we've had and furloughs that we've had, it's put an increased demand on our system. So I'll give you a sense of what's happened in the last couple of weeks, and I know Kevin's going to jump in here towards the end. But over the week of April 5th through the 11th, we took a total number of claims of about 24,171. Okay, keep in mind all of 2019, we took 63,000 in total over the year. Okay, so the previous week, when the numbers are released from the Department of Labor, there were 33,076 new claims. So you can see the demand. It is a decrease, a 27% decrease from the previous week. But put this in perspective, it's a 2,037% increase in the average weekly claim since 2019. Okay, so people are applying, they're antsy, they're eager to know if they're eligible or not eligible, and we are moving as quickly as we possibly can. The total state benefits paid thus far out of our unemployment insurance trust fund has been $11.6 million. Okay, that has gone into Utahns' pockets over the last little bit. The previous week was $6.8 million. So that's regular UI, and then many of you have heard about the CARES program that came out from approved by Congress, and the states are now implementing that. The first phase of that for us was the 600 additional federal dollars that were a part of that stimulus package that goes on top of what UI claimants or individual are eligible for. So we were anticipating that coming, and so we quickly programmed our systems to make sure that we could push out that additional $600 on top of what they're eligible for. So the first week we paid out about $6.4 million on top of of what I mentioned over the past few weeks of regular UI. So a combination of all of that between April 5th and 11th was about $18.1 million into Utahns' pockets. That's a 163% increase from the previous week. So you can see the magnitude of the work that we do and the importance of stabilizing families and making sure that they can figure out their budget. It's a tricky time for many families, and so we're working as quickly as we can. We anticipate this to continue. We're watching the numbers every day. We've now propped up an additional program, which came out of the CARES Act as well, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance application that Teresa mentioned. We announced that was available as of yesterday. And Kevin's going to talk into some detail about how that process works, who would and would not be eligible, the process that would be needed to apply for that. But it's really to focus on the self-employed or the gig worker type individuals that are not eligible for, quite frankly, for a regular unemployment insurance. And so this is another pot of money that's come from the feds to help with those individuals that have been laid off because of COVID-19 or no longer have work. We're roughly seeing about 70% of the new UI filing claims, we call it job attached. That's probably a funky bureaucrat term, but that's what we call it. But it really means you've been furloughed, meaning you're attached to a job. So the employer has decided to either reduce your hours, keep you on the payroll, but you're not getting paid as much as you once were, but you have a job to come back to. So 70% of those new claims have a job deferral, meaning they don't have to work search. They are waiting for the economy to reopen, things to change, and then they have actual jobs to go back to. So that's a good sign. I don't know how long we can hold on to that 70% number, but we're hoping with everything that's going on to support small business and businesses across the state that will stay at that level. And so that means roughly 30% of the claimants are unemployed and have been laid off and do not have a job to go back to. And so they're now job searching, looking for new employment, required to do 4 job searches a week. Right now we have about 23,000 openings in our system. Our system's called jobs.utah.gov. That's where you apply for unemployment insurance. That's where you can look for work. There's all sorts of information available on there. There's a whole section on COVID-19, lots of FAQs on the childcare changes we've made, the unemployment insurance, all the other programs that we have available. So we would direct many to go to jobs.utah.gov to get information that you're curious about. The other thing that we did today, which is kind of fun, and I participated in that for a little bit of my day, was a virtual job fair. It's the first statewide job fair that we partnered with the Chamber and EDCU to really connect people in a virtual way to employers that are hiring and those job seekers that are looking for work. So we had 60 employers participate today, actually 61 to be exact, and actually a little over 800 job seekers participated in that virtual job fair. And it was a pretty slick system. I didn't really know what to expect. People described it to me, but once I witnessed it firsthand, it was really quite cool to be a part of that. So we're hoping that many of the job seekers that are out there looking for work and businesses that are looking to hire, that we can match those up over this virtual job fair process. Let's see, last thing, I just want to point out, again, the unprecedented volume of new claims. The number that's out there that we can share is 74,000 thus far. That's an incredible number. It continues to climb. The pandemic application is seeing a significant number of applications in just the first day and a half of that program being propped up. So just know that our staff are working extremely hard to stay on top of the workload. We're doing overtime 7 days a week. We're trying to get information out as quickly as possible for people to let them know whether they're eligible or not for unemployment. So it's our number one priority. We have a lot of priorities as a department. We do a lot of things, but this is on the top of our list right now, is to get those claims processed. So we encourage people to apply online. Calling is really hard because the volume of the calls are coming in are really just questions about, did you get my information? Did I do it right? And we need protected time for our staff just to process claims, to get them out the door. So, and if we have questions about people's claims that they filed, we will call you and let you know what more we might need, so that you're informed. So we ask for people's patience and know that we'll get to you if we have questions on your claim, and we're working as quickly as we can to get the benefits out to the families that need it. So I'm gonna kick it over to Kevin Burt, Teresa, if that's okay. He's gonna talk about the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that I've referenced. He's our guy. He's working really hard. He's keeping the staff going and everything moving forward as we need it to in these difficult times. So I'll turn that to him. If you have a lot of specific unemployment insurance questions, he's able to answer just about anything.
Terrific. Thanks, John. Thanks, Kevin. And yeah, we'll come back to you with a grouping of questions that we've received from the Q&A. But Kevin, looking forward to learning a little bit more about this pandemic specific UI that can help some of our gig and self-employed.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you, John. So Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is a new program. It is part of the CARES Act. And just to understand it, it's good to understand how unemployment insurance works. So individuals that are employees of an employer, that employer reports those wages and then pays a tax. That tax is then deposited into a trust fund, and that trust fund can only be used for individuals who are laid off through no fault of their own and were an employee of an employer. So that has always been the way the unemployment insurance program has worked. But with pandemic, the COVID-19 has impacted people beyond the people who are covered employees, and it's expanded well into the self-employed as well. Now, the self-employed don't pay a tax, so they are ineligible for your traditional unemployment benefit. So then what happened with the CARES Act is they created a new program called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And it is a program that is fully federally funded and is now available to individuals who were self-employed and have lost that employment due to COVID-19. And so as John mentioned, we stood that application up yesterday. It was an application that we had never done this program before, and we started to receive those applications as well as the historical unemployment applications that John mentioned as well. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the programs.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, John. One question that we had that has come up a couple of times in the Q&A feature, so we want to put it out to you. You're all processing, obviously, a tremendous volume of claims right now, and thank you on behalf of the state and those who are seeking this help. What's the usual time frame from when somebody submits a claim, assuming it's complete, to when they start receiving this support?
Yeah, so our typical timeframes historically have been 21 days from application to processing. But because with the volume, we've been trying to proactively communicate that there have been some disruptions. And so we are communicating that it's 21 to 30 days from the date of application. But with unemployment insurance, what happens is an individual applies, and then they file a weekly claim attesting to where they are at, meaning are they in the same situation they are this week as they were last week. And when we do process those, if they are determined eligible, payments will be made retroactively to the date that they are eligible. So that 21 to 30 days, we're still committed to that. And one thing that John did mention that can help us is that if the claimants apply online, if they make sure they complete the application completely and accurately, that they do their weekly claim. And then unemployment insurance is different in that there is not a need to contact us. If there is a discrepancy or an issue with your claim, we actually proactively call you to resolve that and answer that. So we're trying to find that balance because of the need of the benefit. There are a lot of calls, but we're trying to balance that call, responding to those, as well as making sure the benefits are processing now.
Great, thank you. I'm also seeing a couple of questions that relate to just lost income, but not necessarily lost employment. So for those who are accustomed to receiving overtime, but where that might have been cut, or they have lost, or they're sole proprietors, or where they own their own business and they're seeing lost revenue. Is there anything in the CARES Act or that's part of the standard UI program that would address those who are suffering from lost income, but not necessarily lost job loss?
And so it is primarily for the unemployed. And so an individual that has seen significant reduction in hours, then that is potentially that they're eligible. And then what happens is they do their weekly filing, they have to report the wages that are earned. And it could be that they are eligible for a prorated amount. But if I am a full-time worker and I have lost a side job, or if I'm not working overtime, but I'm still working full-time, both pandemic and your traditional unemployment still do have a monetary decision. And if you're a full-time employee, you're most likely ineligible for both of those benefits. So it is not going to replace additional income or a second job, but if your primary job is impacted by COVID-19, either through a furlough or a loss or a significant reduction, then you should be applying for unemployment. Now, one of the things we have communicated is, how do I know which one to apply for, unemployment or pandemic? There is a feature on jobs.utah.gov. When you go to submit your application, there's an Am I Eligible button. And what that does is that you enter your social security number and it will trigger a look at what wages we have with you related to your social security number. If you are an employee of an employer that has paid into the tax to the trust fund, it'll come back and say, if you were laid off, this is how much you'd be eligible for. So if it comes back with a dollar amount, you should apply for unemployment. If it comes back with a $0 amount, then that means you should be applying for pandemic unemployment assistance. And you can apply for both. It is a hierarchy, meaning that if you are eligible for traditional unemployment, you are ineligible for pandemic. So there is no need to apply for both. You just need to, and what we hope is that you can get to the right application based on whether you are a covered employee or a self-employed.
Great. Well, thank you so much, John and Kevin. You guys are doing terrific and yeoman's work, and it's much appreciated on behalf of those of us who are suffering right now economically. So thank you so much. I want to turn the time now to my friend Greg Summerhays with the South Valley Chamber and Ken Copeland of Elizabeth's Catering, who I just got to know a little bit before this phone call started, and who is really innovating within his own business as well. So I'm gonna toss this over to you, Greg and Ken.
Thanks, Tricia. Appreciate that. I just want to thank everybody who's on the call and participating today, and for these calls. I think they've been super helpful for all of us. I think we all recognize that COVID-19 has forced the majority of our businesses to examine how they operate, interact with their customers, and how they're making money. And like all of you, when we made our 2020 plans, COVID-19 wasn't anything. We didn't even know about it. And so we heard a little bit from Jeremy earlier about how Traeger has responded to these needs, and it was a good example of how a company has taken a good comprehensive approach at that. But I also want to introduce another company doing a great job of reinventing themselves to stay profitable in these difficult times. Elizabeth's Catering is a member of our chamber. They recently completed our KeyBank Business Accelerator Academy, where they created a 3-year strategic growth plan. And they've now been forced to re-examine those plans, make some adjustments, and innovate in order to be successful. So I'm going to turn the time over now to Ken Copeland, the owner and CEO of Elizabeth's Catering, so that he can share sort of how they've pivoted and what they've done to be able to remain profitable. So Ken, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Greg. So I wanted to give you a little plug on the Streetwise MBA program that you guys put on. That was extremely helpful. And for anybody out there, I definitely suggest taking advantage of that course when they offer it. Just a lot of great value from that. So thank you for letting me come through that. It definitely helped our business. So when everything kind of came down and all the group sizes kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller, everything came off the books for catering. So our primary focus with the catering company has been daily employee meals for companies that don't have a cafeteria in-house. So as people started working from home, those kept getting smaller and smaller, and then eventually they've all been postponed. So we were faced with pretty much a 95% reduction in gross revenues. And we worked really hard this last year, really building up our team, building the culture, and I just couldn't let my people go just to fend for themselves while we hoarded our cash. There's just no way we could do that. So, you know, we did furlough our driving staff for a week, but we gave them a check for $500 to kind of keep them afloat and just let them know that, you know, we're going to work really hard to figure out a solution here. So just stay with us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So a week went by and we started trying to think of where can we help people that are hurting right now? Who needs our help? What is it that we can do, knowing that catering is not an option? And we started noticing the big runs on the grocery stores and all the things that they were out of stock on. And then we started seeing how people were even scared to go to the grocery store. I mean, like there's pictures floating around where people are wearing like full on scuba gear while they're shopping. And, you know, so it's just like, okay, this is definitely a problem. And we have a lot of products that they can't access. We made it available to the general public. We created a website, eccgrocery.com. And we started putting things on there that we knew were short. And then we just kind of kept adding more and more and more. So I think we have like 80 different items on there, everything from bleach, toilet paper, raw meats and steaks and deli meats, breads, vegetables, you know, so we tried to make it as comprehensive as we could. And so it's been 2.5 weeks now, and we've processed almost 1,100 orders through that online grocery service. So it's been really successful so far. Got a lot of really good media exposure in the very beginning, which really helped us launch the whole thing. And you know, it's a little bit slower now than we'd like, but we're just kind of rethinking things a little bit more. So along the lines of who can we help, we noticed that there was a lot of people that were reaching out to us of like, hey, you know, we love your service, but we just can't afford anything until we get our paycheck. And but as soon as we get paid, we want to use your groceries, you know, use your service. And you know, it just kind of got me thinking maybe there's a way the community can help support this cause. So we opened up a Pay It Forward campaign. Fox News came out and did a story on it. But after that, we've got people requesting help, or people will nominate somebody that they know is in help, maybe that's too afraid to ask. And as we've had these requests come in, we've had the money following it. So it's been really interesting to see the community supporting this. We're going through the list right now. We still have money in the Pay It Forward campaign to be able to help families with groceries. So if anybody's listening and they know somebody in need, just reach out to me and we'll make sure that we get some groceries to those people. So, you know, we're just kind of following that thought process of who can we help. We also launched a new thing with take and bake meals for families so they don't have to prepare dinner. And we just started thinking, you know, it'd be really cool if we can give away some meals to healthcare workers, so that, especially at the testing sites. So we donated 25 for the first 25 that were ordered, and then set it up to where when you buy groceries from us, you can also buy a meal to go to a healthcare worker. So we wanted to make sure it went to the right people in the right place. We reached out to the IHC supply chain, and we're working directly with them to make sure that when we show up with these meals, we're not giving like 5 meals to a whole clinic that maybe has, you know, 50 people. So we're making sure that we have enough meals to come in and give one to everyone, so nobody feels left out. And it's been really cool so far. We've been, I think we're just over 100 meals were donated. And so it's a whole lasagna and then like breadsticks and salad to serve a whole family on those. So it's priced at $24.99 just to cover our cost of labor and putting it together. So that's been really interesting to see. And we've had a few business leaders in Silicon Valley reach out to us and donate some larger quantities, which has been awesome to see that. There, you know, I think Utah is just an amazing state of people coming together and trying to help. there was another guy that reached out to me a day or two ago, and he started selling t-shirts with the intention of all the profits from his t-shirt sales going to help feed the frontline workers. And then he saw us on Fox News and donated his profits to go to that cause through us. So, it's really, really cool to see the community rallying and coming together, and just the support that we have here in this state. So I feel really blessed that, it's the pandemic definitely sucks, but I'm glad that we're in Utah during this time, and we have, our state leaders are doing a lot of great things to help. The community is rallying behind everybody. So it's just feel blessed for that.
Ken, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about your story, the way that you pivoted, and how you are engaging in what we all like to call the beehive mentality, which is caring for and looking after others, your employees, our healthcare workers, our community. I want to just share my screen really quickly. Oh wait, it looks like it's disabled, but there's been a ton of questions in the chat. Let's just make sure we underline eccgrocery.com. I was just browsing around on it a little bit, and my mouth is absolutely watering. One, looks delicious. You got a happy, smiling team on there, and you're doing amazing things. So very, very cool. Super happy to learn more about it, and encourage folks who are interested to visit EC as in cat, C as in cat, grocery.com.
Yep. So it's short for Elizabeth's Custom Catering.
Elizabeth's Custom Catering, Elizabeth's Custom Cats Catering. So thank you so much again, Ken. Greg, anything else from you or Ken that you wanted to touch on before we start to wrap up?
No, once again, I want to thank the task force for putting these together. I think it's such helpful information. And like Ken said, we just need to continue to rally together as a community, and we can make it through this, and we can be better in the end. A lot of innovation comes out of the times when we're stressed the most, or when difficulty is placed in our path. And I know that we're going to see a lot of great innovation come out of this, and a lot of companies are going to come out a lot stronger than they were before. So to companies out there struggling, I say, hang on, reach out to, your chambers of commerce and others that could help provide you with good and helpful information, and we'll do all we can to help you. So thanks.
Hear, hear. Well, thank you so much, Ken. Again, loved hearing your story, and thank you, Greg. And thanks to everyone else who joined us either as a panelist or as a participant on the call. Before we conclude, I just have one additional bit of news to share, and that is that the Economic Response Task Force will release version 2 of the Utah Leads Together plan tomorrow. As you remember, the document 1 was released about 3 weeks ago, and it was always intended to be a living document that would be updated as we learn new things. I really encourage you to watch for news of its release tomorrow. Version 2 will go into greater detail on the data tools that are guiding our decision makers. And it will also provide some tactical, practical advice to businesses on how they can safely operate as the state begins its very careful move into re-energizing the economy. So stay tuned for that. And as usual, please visit coronavirus.utah.gov for any additional available business resources and the most up-to-date information. But take care, everybody. Thanks again for joining, and stay safe.